2 with Jerry and Debbie. Hope your week is starting off strong. I'm Debbie Georgiani, one half of the team. The other half, Jerry Usher, is traveling today to assist in the pledge drive of Redeemer Radio, serving the Fort Wayne and South Bend areas of Indiana. So please, 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 dear listeners, keep Jerry in your prayers today. I want him to have an enjoyable and safe travel experience. And also, dear listeners, pray for the success of Redeemer Radio's pledge drive. This is pledge drive season, and local radio stations around the country are trying to raise money to keep great programs and fine programs coming in from EWTN and playing on the local radio stations. It's really a great time to be a Catholic Christian. It's a wonderful time. Jerry and I just got back from the EWTN radio conference in Birmingham, Alabama, where all of the radio stations, the affiliates, gathered together to just celebrate and to share the advancements of Catholic radio. So please keep your local Catholic radio stations in mind when you are giving this year, and also, of course, EWTN, who does such a magnificent job being the ones that is kind of like just the umbrella that just, really showers and pioneers forward and really helps unite the whole world. Actually, EWTN is global, and it's really a beautiful thing. So Catholic Christians all together can come together under the umbrella of EWTN. Okay, so dear listeners, it's you and me today talking about the sacrament of marriage or matrimony. Jerry and I titled the show, "Your Sacrament is Showing." How do you experience God's grace in your marriage? And so we really want to, I really want to explore that. I know Jerry's probably listening in an airport right now, so I kind of feel like he's part of the conversation. But we really want to talk about what it means to show your sacrament, to live your sacrament of your marriage. And the best way to do that is to really go back to the Catechism of the Catholic Church. And like we have stated so many times, to keep that readily available in your home alongside your Bible is just a perfect way to go right to the source and to understand what the Catholic Church teaches. So I picked out two paragraphs that I really think pertain to today's discussion. But, let me just share this, because I know once I read from the Catechism of the Catholic Church and talk a little bit more about how your sacrament is showing, I know you're going to want to add to this discussion, because this is how we learn, this is how we grow, this is how we move forward. So please call in at 1-800-585-9396. That's 1-800-585-9396. And we're going to be talking about the sacrament of marriage. And we can move this discussion however you like, because that is how we grow and that is how we learn. So keep that in mind. And plus, when you talk to Matt Gubinski, our call screener, you're going to be able to listen live as you're waiting to get on the air. So you're not going to miss anything. And you can add to the discussion. You can even be thinking about what you want to say. But I invite you to call in at 1-800-585-9396. Okay, so your sacrament is showing. What does that mean, your sacrament? Well, going back to the Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph 1642, and I'm going to read just a part of it. It says, "Christ is the source of this grace. Just as of old God encountered his people with a covenant of love and fidelity, so our Savior, the spouse of the Church, now encounters Christian spouses through the sacrament of matrimony. Christ dwells with them, gives them the strength to take up their crosses, and so follow him to rise again after they have fallen, to forgive one another, to bear one another's burdens, and to be subject to one another out of reverence for Christ, and to love one another with supernatural, tender, and fruitful love." So let me just reflect on that just a little bit. And please consider calling in and start to add to this discussion. 1-800-585-9396. It talks about Christ is the source of this grace, which we know that's what sacraments are all about. It's the graces that are given, the graces that are sustained, the graces that are received. And it's really a beautiful, beautiful thing to ponder and to understand about the sacrament of matrimony. So in this, the grace that is given through this sacrament allows you to endure so many things, the ups and downs, the triumphs, the pitfalls, all the crosses, everything that happens in a marriage. It's the grace. It's the grace given by Christ. And so we want to talk about that today and really share how we can actually learn to put that grace into our daily lives and to really show it to each other, our spouses, and to the world. Because I want to also share later on about another paragraph in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, 1648, which talks about being witnesses to the world. So, I mean, tell us your story. Is your sacrament of your marriage, is it showing to the world? Have you witnessed someone else's sacrament? Have you been a part or have viewed somebody else's sacrament? I mean, it's really a beautiful topic to talk about. But we need to hear from you at 1-800-585-9396. Okay, paragraph 1648, I'll just give you that real quick. It says, it can seem difficult, even impossible, to bind oneself for life to another human being. This makes it all the more important to proclaim the good news that God loves us with a definitive and irrevocable love, that married couples share in this love, and that it supports and sustains them, that by their own faithfulness they can be witnesses to God's faithful love. Spouses who with God's grace give this witness, often in very difficult conditions, they deserve the gratitude and support of the ecclesial community, the church community. So there's sometimes marriage is tough. It really can be tough. I mean, we're going to take a quick break, and when I come back, I say we. I'm so used to having Jerry here. When I come back, I'm going to share a little bit about my circumstances, and then also something about what my husband and I experienced last night at Mass, which after praying about this wonderful topic today, my husband and I got to witness it firsthand. It was really quite beautiful. Well, you hear that music. So when we come back to take two, or when I come back to take two, we're going to continue this discussion, but I need your help. So 1-800-585-9396. You don't want me talking all the time, so I want to hear from you. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Can pastime be infinite? This is an important question in the modern philosophy and science dialogue. Many argue that if pastime were infinite, then we would never have arrived at the present. Their reasoning is that it is impossible to traverse an infinite number of moments that succeed one another one at a time. Think about it. If we had to traverse an infinite number of moments in order to complete the whole of past time, then we would never succeed in completing the series of moments, because there would always be one more moment to traverse ad infinitum in order to complete it. But if we can't succeed in completing the series of moments that constitutes the whole of past time, then we would never have arrived at the present moment. But we have arrived at the present moment, therefore past time cannot be infinite. To learn more about the finitude of past time, visit our website, magicenter.com. I'm Carlo Broussard, apologist and speaker for the Magis Center, with your Magis Minute.
Hello, this is Bill Donahue from the Catholic League, and you're listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Thanks for staying with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I'm Debbie Georgiani. Jerry Usher is at Redeemer Radio's Pledge Drive, so we wish him a successful pledge drive. So today I'm talking about the sacrament of marriage. Is your sacrament showing? Do you really live out God's grace in your sacrament? And before the break, I was sharing that my husband and I was praying about this exact topic for today. And last night, God gave us a blessing. And it was really amazing. We went to Mass last night. Actually, we were taking my mom out to dinner after Mass, and my mom lives in a retirement community. And so we went to her parish, which predominantly is a retirement age parish. And so I would say, the average age is, somewhere around 60, 65, 70, and even higher. And so we were there at Mass, and right in front of us was a couple, husband and wife, and you can tell they were married for many, many years. You can just tell because they just seemed so very, very much connected to each other. And he must have been in his early or mid 80s, and she was as well. Their bodies definitely have gone through a lot of physical trials. You can see that. He was walking with a cane. He was kind of hunched over. She actually, unfortunately, it looks like she lost one of her eyes, and she was walking with a walker. And they were very, very compromised physically, you could tell, in the sense that they just seemed very tired, and life really, definitely took its toll. But they were together at Mass, and it was truly beautiful. They sat right in front of us, and my husband and I, kept just kind of watching and just marveling at how beautiful it was. The husband, you could tell at one time when he was younger, he was a big, strong man. You could just tell it. But now his body really had kind of, grown old and weary. And yet he couldn't really get up during Mass. And so what he would do is he would put his hand on his very frail wife, and he'd have his hand slightly on her back. Almost looked like he was praying over her, but it almost seemed like he wanted to stay connected. And it was really just a beautiful testament and a witness of their connection and their faith. And she was still depending on him for a lot of things. They were very close. And all we could do, my husband and I, is just sit in awe of their connectedness and how beautiful they were. And to us, their sacrament was showing. And it was showing as clear as can be. They clearly have been through a lot, you could tell. And I wanted to stop them at the end of Mass and just say, could you share your story? But you could almost get, you almost could just feel the story by watching them, that they just had a beautiful relationship, have been through a lot, but they stuck together and they were still caring for one another. And I got Holy Spirit goosebumps just saying that. And I was just filled with tears, and so was my husband, Marty. We just said to them, wow. And I actually leaned over to my husband during Mass, and I said, do you think we're going to be like that when we get older? And we just smiled. It was such a beautiful testament and a beautiful showing of the sacrament of matrimony, to stay with each other, to have that grace to endure right up until the very end, and to still show that strength. And that was the interesting thing. Both of them seemed so frail. And almost they needed help. They truly needed outside help, but yet there was that strength, that inner core strength that kept them going. Now, what was that inner core strength? Well, I believe it was the source of grace. It was God's grace blessing them in their sacrament of their marriage, and it allowed them to really endure together whatever life threw at them. But they were going to stick it out together. So I don't know the couple's name, but we said a prayer for them, and we hope you do as well. A wonderful couple that we saw at Mass last night. Okay, number to dial is 1-800-585-9396. We're talking about the sacrament of marriage. We're talking about, is your sacrament showing? How do you experience God's grace in your marriage? I mean, these are important things for us to really talk about and to really keep the conversation going. So, and maybe too, you want to weigh in and say, I'm not married, but this is what I would look for in a marriage. This is what I would need to see in all the marriages out there in order for me to really believe in that sacrament of marriage. So we want to hear from you, because sacraments are divine vessels. They're ways for us to really grow in holiness. They sanctify us. They cleanse us. They give us strength. They help us journey closer to God. It's an important topic. But it also takes for all of us to do some self kind of reflection and kind of take an inventory of ourselves, and to find out, what are we doing? What are we doing to live out that grace? If our sacrament is showing, does that mean we have to be perfect? If our sacrament isn't showing, what do we have to do? So I'm going to give you some resources too that'll really help in, maybe taking a look at that, taking that internal inventory of your life and your marriage, and to find out, what resources you can use. Like, for instance, foryourmarriage.org. foryourmarriage.org. It's an initiative of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. And it has a resource center that is phenomenal about dating and the engaged, parenting resources, marriage resources, all sorts of different tools for you to grow your marriage in grace, to grow your marriage in grace. So foryourmarriage.org, I highly recommend it. I know I have shared it with many emails. You guys have emailed me, and I've shared that that's a great, great tool for you to be able to go to and grab your resources. Okay, so we talked about your sacrament is showing. Phone lines are filling up. Matt's doing a great job at screening the calls and getting you ready to get on the air, which is wonderful. But if you want to jump in, there's an open phone line just for you. Talk about marriage. Let's talk about it. 1-800-585-9396. Maybe you absolutely don't agree with what I'm saying. Maybe you think that, no way, no how, been there, done that, been married. I didn't experience any grace. Let's talk about it. Let's really see why that the sacrament of marriage for you, didn't seem to feel the right way. Maybe we could find out really what that means, and it'll help all of us grow. 1-800-585-9396. Okay, Christ is the source of this grace. Christ is the source of this grace. That's one line that you can just keep meditating on, because it really is Christ in the midst of the marriage that allows the marriage to blossom. It allows the marriage to grow and to survive everything that life throws at it. But Christ must be the center. Now, I wanted to share real quickly, and then we're going to get to the phones. I was, since I have the mic and there's no Jerry Usher today, I get to just, have the mic. Isn't that great? But no. Anyway, but I wanted to kind of give you a background so we can discuss marriage in a great and vibrant way. I was married the first time for 20 years. And so I consider that a very, very long marriage. I was married in the church, and I received an annulment after my divorce. And God blessed me with my marriage right now to Marty. And we were married in the church in 2009. We're going to be celebrating our 6-year wedding anniversary, November 7th. Early happy anniversary, Marty. And we're blessed. We're blessed to be able to experience the sacrament of matrimony and to experience the grace. Now, is our marriage perfect? Absolutely not. And thank goodness it's not. I don't want to live up to that kind of, perfection and then have it, have to stress myself out trying to, literally be perfect in every little thing in the marriage. Our marriage is a normal marriage. We have our ups and downs. We have our trials. We have our arguments. We have, all sorts of things. But you know what? We know the value of the sacrament. We know what we entered into, and we're committed. We are truly committed to one another. And that's, I believe, one of the keys to marriage is commitment, is to truly, really give yourself to that other person freely and to really be committed until the last day of your life. And I think that is a beautiful thing. Okay, I just want to we're getting ready. We have a call coming in from Virginia that we're just making sure can get on the air, but I will go ahead and also to just share one other thing I wanted to share with you. When I was on the plane coming back from the EWTN radio conference, here's another God encounter. I don't believe in accidents. I believe God puts you in the right place at the right time. There's always a reason, and if you're open to it, God will use you. And I was really, really tired coming back from the EWTN radio conference, fell asleep, and I didn't want to talk. Believe it or not, I didn't want to talk, and I was sleeping, and it was like God just woke me up and said, you need to talk to this really nice lady next to you. And we started up a conversation. And it turns out her name is Carol. Her husband, Bob, passed away a year ago. He fought a very tough battle with cancer, and he passed away a year ago. And she shared with me about Bob's life. And we started talking more and more. And she didn't know that I've worked for the Catholic Church and have a show on EWTN. And so what happened was, as we started talking, she shared with me Bob's story, and she shared with me her grieving process that her and her 2 girls are going through. Beautiful lady, and they were married a very long time, had a great, great love. In fact, she carried his picture in her right at the front zipper of her purse. And we started talking, and she shared with me that Bob was an incredible spiritual person. He used to go to his local Catholic church in Arizona, and he would light a candle before work, pretty much, I guess, every single day. It sounded like she said every single day. And he would go to church, light a candle before work. He was a very, very, very devout Catholic. And Carol was sharing this, and we both got tears in our eyes, and just started really celebrating Bob's life. And we started talking. Well, then I shared with her that I've worked for the Catholic Church in Phoenix for over 25 years and do a live talk show on EWTN. And she had shared with me to say thank you to the folks of EWTN because, see, now I'm gonna tear up. When Bob couldn't get out of the home anymore, EWTN was how he got to watch Mass and how he participated in Mass. And it was absolutely beautiful, and she wanted to thank EWTN. Well, I also shared with her that our EWTN listeners are family, and so that we would all like to pray for Bob and the repose of his soul, and also pray for Carol and her girls that she can, get through the grieving process and find that joy again. And so if you could keep Bob and Carol, Bob's soul in your prayers and Carol's family in your prayers, I know I would greatly appreciate it. And how there is no accident, I just want to share with you, the church that Bob and Carol go to is the same church that my husband Marty received his sacraments in Arizona, in Scottsdale, Arizona. And the pastor that did the funeral service for Bob is the same priest that did my wedding vows. So tell me that there isn't, God, there is no accident. God has a plan, he has a purpose, and it's absolutely beautiful. So please keep Carol and Bob's, the repose of Bob's soul in your prayers today. Okay, we're ready to go. We're going to take a quick break in a few minutes, but let's get to the calls, and then we'll take a break. And I believe it's Ona Lee in Front Royal, Virginia. Hi, Ona Lee. Please tell me if I got that correctly. Welcome to Take Two.
Well, thank you, Debbie. Yes, it's Ona Lee. Yes.
Cool. Thank you. Tell us your story.
Well, I'll try to make it very brief. My story was I was just led to call you from hearing how you were opening your program, because in 1963, I was like this clueless California Valley girl, existentialist, and I went to work for this wonderful Catholic man who was 21 years older than I was, Mr. Bill McGraw, and we just immediately shared so much in common, but he was 21 years older than I was, and a Catholic, very conservative. I was very liberal in my orientation. Just to make a long story short, he just exhibited so much of a Catholic way of being a man, and just so honorable and intelligent in the way he looked at life. It was kind of amazing. And so the two of us did get married, but I started out his secretary, and he was my boss. And the story I love to tell about it is that he told me all about Henry VIII. And it was much more than just a couple of women getting their heads chopped off. I was totally amazed because I had received this education in the public schools, of course, even of that day, and a lot of things are left out. And so that's just part of what it was. We were married for 48 years.
Okay, but wait, Ona Lee, hold on one second. 48 years. I want you to hold that thought. So hold the end, because you're going to hear the music. This is the one hard break that I must take. When I get back, I want you to finish the story, and then I'm going to ask you some questions. So hold on, Ona Lee. We're talking on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie about the Sacrament of Matrimony. Is your sacrament showing? Stay with us. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with Ona Lee's story.
For a complete list of the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network AM and FM stations across America, go to EWTN.com, look for the radio pull-down menu, and select AM/FM stations. The list is updated regularly, so visit often. Again, go to EWTN.com, look for the radio pull-down menu, and select AM/FM stations. Also at EWTN.com, you'll find out how to listen to us on the web, on shortwave, and in some countries on satellite. You'll find it all on EWTN.com.
60 Seconds with Father Mitch Pacwa.
We all have to exercise our role as priests, prophets, and kings. Prophets, we speak for life. As priests, we celebrate life. And as kings, we serve life. This is for everybody, because all of us share in Jesus' prophetic, priestly, and kingly service and ministry. Politicians have to make sure that they do not ever renounce their responsibility. You can't renounce responsibility because you have to answer to God as well as to your own conscience and to the whole society for the choices that may be contrary to the common good. A law which violates an innocent person's natural right to life is unjust and as such is not valid as law. It's not valid law in the eyes of God or the church.
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
This is Patrick Coffin. Join me for Catholic Answers Live. It's 2 hours dedicated to Catholic apologetics and evangelization. Designed for Catholics and non-Catholics alike, it's your opportunity to hear from and talk with some of the leading apologists and theologians in the church today. You've got questions? We've got Catholic Answers. Catholic Answers Live, weekdays 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Thanks for staying with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. We're talking about, is your sacrament showing today, the sacrament of marriage? There's still time to get in, plenty of time to get in on this conversation at 1-800-585-9396. But we had that one hard break during the show that we must take at the exact time. So I had to interrupt Onalee in her beautiful story, her life story of being married for 48 years. And Onalee, take it away. Finish up. I want to share. I have so much to ask you. Go ahead.
Okay, well then I'll try to make it brief. We had a beautiful life. We're given the opportunity to work with Dr. Warren Carroll in the founding of Christendom College, and all three of our children went to Christendom.
Wow.
And today, my own son, Bill's son, Father Steve McGraw, we were blessed to have a son of one of our three children to go into the priesthood. Just incredible. And so Bill and I just went through life like this, just such good friends and so loving each other. And when he died, he was able to die right in our own home in just this very peaceful, beautiful way that he passed. And we had students from Christendom College here singing hymns, and Bill received the last rites from his very own son, saying the Mass and giving him the last rites. And right up to the very last moment, we had this connection that you're describing. It's hard to put it into words when one has been so blessed to actually be in that way with one's loved one. And it's just like you said, there's these rough bumps along the way, but there's this force. And I think from the way you described it, it came to me that this is the sacramental force. Mm-hmm. It's just this power that holds you together in such love. And at Bill's wake, I was able to get the words out that Bishop Sheen was right. It is 3 to get married. So that's the story. Bill died in 2012. but I feel his closeness to me, and through our children, and his first great-grandchild was just born right in the same time as his birthday, about a week ago. So that's the story, Debbie.
Wow. Well, I mean, Onali, I have to tell you, I feel so blessed that you called in today and you felt inspired to do that. And your story speaks volumes about what we're trying to communicate, Jerry and I, when we had thought out this theme for the show. Is that your story is exactly what we wanted to highlight. And some of the words you said were just so beautiful. You know, you called Bill, and please, dear listeners, let's keep always Bill in our prayers. And to think that you guys had done so much ministry work, Christendom College, having a son, a priest. I mean, all the fruits that you have, all the seeds you have planted, and then all the fruits that came from that. How beautiful is that? But Onali, let me ask you this thing. You said, well, I want to comment. You called Bill. You said he was intelligent. You said he was honorable. You know, I just started getting those Holy Spirit chills when you were talking. I mean, it really sounded like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it really sounded like you really looked up to him.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And I had the opportunity to actually put my thoughts down, and they're on a website tribute that I made for Bill called My Life with Bill, The Mystery of Faithful Love, because it meant so much to me to be able to write what it all was, because I said I was not a praying person, and I didn't have a personal belief in the Lord, and yet I was given the grace to say yes to him, that he wanted me for his wife. And he was Catholic, and I was not. He took a chance with me.
Oh.
I mean, this was 1963. And so we both took that chance, that this was going to work out. It was just a really amazing kind of a way, and I would say it was our love of literature and the drama and the stories of life that did bring us together. We looked at life the same way, which is, I guess, the truth of the natural law and God's plan, because I couldn't be more different from Bill at that time. And yet I had the grace to say, yes, this will be the man that I make my life with. And what you said about the sacramental power is that's where it is, because it really was just grace that made me accept him, and I think it's grace that drew him to me, too.
Right.
And so that is what you're, I think, getting at there.
Yes, absolutely. And to think that you guys helped start a college, and you have a priest in your family, and your son, the priest, was right by Bill's bedside. I mean, beautiful. I would have loved to have met Bill. I hope to someday get to meet him, God willing, in eternity. But let's all pray also for the soul of Bill, and also let's pray for your family, because you guys really have tapped into that grace. Your story is really beautiful, and it gives us a chance to be inspired by it. And I loved what you had to say, Onali, about your openness. You brought God into your marriage, and God stayed in your marriage and brought you guys to further and further holiness together as a family. That's the beauty of the sacrament. Onali, you blessed my day. You made my day. I thank you so much for being prompted by the Spirit. Your family seems blessed, and that is wonderful, and we continue many more blessings to your family, Onali. We hope you have a great, great rest of the week.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you. God bless you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Wow, dear listeners, that is just an amazing story. And, Onali's story is something that when we enter into marriage, we should all look for and all be open to. And God will bless that. He will bless us for staying very, very close to him and bringing him into the marriage. Okay, we're going to move right along to Adina in San Antonio, Texas, listening on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Adina. Welcome to Take Two.
Hi, it's my first time calling. It's like the second time I've heard your program, so awesome work.
Thank you. Thank you. Did I say your name right? Is it Adina?
It is. It is.
Okay. Okay, cool.
My husband and I have been married for 21 years, and it has been the craziest and the best 21 years. And in that time, we've become catechists for confirmation children, and that is an amazing age. A lot of the girls are so liberal, and they don't believe in marriage anymore. And one of the greatest compliments we have received is girls want to be married because they see how Michael, my husband, and I are. And that's that's God's grace for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's an amazing experience just to have the girls just say, that's what marriage is supposed to be. And
right.
We're not perfect, by no means. Nowhere near perfect, but we try.
Right. And you know what? The thing about it is it's hard to try to be perfect in this world. I mean, you can just do the best you can and make it enjoyable and make it fun and make life and marriage fun in the sense that those children that are watching you, Adina and Michael, together, they're saying, that's what I want. That's what I want. Even if they don't always seem perfect, that's what I want. And that is God's grace, and that is beautiful. And your sacrament is definitely showing to those children. And that's exactly what we mean. And that's why the Catholic Church fights so hard. They fight so hard to try and keep marriage between a man and a woman. A marriage is man and a woman. And the thing about it is because we are witnesses to those young faces that are looking to say, hey, do I want to get married? Do I want to do that? But if they see you as catechists like you are, Adina, and they see you and Michael together and you're interacting, you might be joking, you might even be not particularly, totally loving at points during being a catechist, because I know being a catechist can get tiresome after a while. But you know what? They see it all. But they see the two of you committed. They see the two of you with God at the center, and they see the two of you ministering together. That is beautiful. I would love for you to comment more a little bit on that.
Yeah, it's so true. We do, and it isn't easy. Again, with that age group, we're also having to be almost parents to some of them because there's a lot of broken homes now, and we see all sorts of families. We've done this for 10 years now. And we've had our boys go through our catechism class as well, and we see all sorts of families, and we're trying to help heal those families, and we're trying to really minister to their needs and to show them that God has a plan for all of us, and maybe the vocation of marriage, and it is that a vocation that that's a definite option. We try to We let them know that it isn't always roses, and they do see that on occasion, especially when we're tired and we've worked on Saturday nights or whatever it is, and we're teaching on Sundays after Mass. We can be pretty tedious and maybe annoying to them and to each other, and they see, at the end of the day, they still love each other, and they're not throwing in the towel, and
right.
And they seem to like that. They like to see, it's work, but there's meaning and there's love and there's hopefully a little fun in there too. And they've seen us I know one of our classes had to grieved with us when a loved one passed on, and they go through that grieving process with us, and they see, they grieved. It's not just all fun and games. There is that serious element to it as well, and we definitely try to bring balance and show them the good, and they go with us on that ride.
Beautiful.
Teaching.
Beautiful. Well, your sacrament is definitely showing to our youth, Adina, and I just think I'm so glad you called in, because that is, we forget that sometimes as catechists, or if we're ministering in the church, we forget sometimes that those little ones are watching everything. And Adina, you hit the nail on that one. And I know you're probably doing this, but I just want to kind of have you keep this in mind. When you're a catechist and you're ministering the church, you're doing a lot. And you're doing an awful lot. And I'll tell you that that Satan will do whatever he can to try and distract or derail you. So please make sure you take time, separate from being a catechist, and you and Michael just kind of recharge your batteries and make sure that you keep your bubble, your marriage family bubble, intact. So I'm sure you're doing that, though, Adina. But I want to thank you so much for calling in to Take Two. And we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we got more phone calls to go to. We're talking about the sacrament. Your sacrament is showing the sacrament of marriage. Is it showing to others? You know, we heard from Onali, we heard from Adina, and their sacraments are showing to all of us. How about yours? Call in 1-800-585-9396. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this quick break.
I was debating an atheist online who said, Chris, you believing in God is like a kid coming down on Christmas morning, seeing presents under his tree, and saying, oh, look, presents, there must be a Santa. I replied, really? Because you not believing in God is like a kid coming down on Christmas morning, seeing presents under his tree, and saying, oh, look, presents, they must have exploded themselves here. No child has ever been that crazy. Now, a kid might get the identity of the gift giver wrong, but when he sees presents under the tree, he knows they didn't put themselves there. Likewise, everything made of matter has a source or an origin outside of itself, from your chair to your morning coffee to you. Have you ever stopped to consider that the universe is something made of matter? It had to come from something outside of itself that had the power to create a universe. The Big Bang did not Big Bang itself. There is a God. This is Chris Stefanik from reallifecatholic.com.
Howdy, this is Jimmy Aiken from Catholic Answers Live. Thanks for listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Welcome back, dear listeners, to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I just wanted to share tomorrow's show, a little snippet of tomorrow's show. We titled it, I Hate My Life. Now, don't get all panicked. I know the word hate is a very strong word. But, you know, sometimes there are people that go through things in life and they just kind of think to themselves in that cartoon bubble over their head, you know, I hate my life. And, you know, we want to talk about that. We want to talk about why maybe you have said that at one time, what you did about it, what you can do about it, what that means for you. And maybe provide some spiritual resources for you to grow your faith so that, you know, those haunting words don't creep up in your life that says, I hate my life. So that's tomorrow's show, and join us for that. Jerry Usher will be back. He's at Redeemer Radio in Indiana. And so let's pray for a successful pledge drive. And he'll be back tomorrow. We're going to talk about that show. But right now we're going to go to Jim in North Dakota. Jim, thank you. You got the Patience Award today, waiting to get on to Take Two. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi, Jim.
Hi. I've been married for 21 years, cradle Catholic. I guess when I first got married, you know, my faith was lukewarm probably. But I don't know, after the death of my mother, I think she's been interceding for me ever since. But anyway, I mean, over the years, I guess what I've learned about my marriage is, you know, the messy times in life. My biggest thing is, you know, a person needs, for me and personally, I need to swallow my pride, my selfish pride, and just give in sometimes. You know, it's not worth the fight. I guess one of the best sermons I'd ever heard at a marriage was actually, it was my brother's sermon. He married a Methodist woman, but the pastor there, he basically said it straight up: you need to die to yourself and totally live for your spouse. And to me, I mean, it just spoke to me. That's a perfect recipe for a perfect marriage.
Right.
Because I think when we think about ourselves too often, everything about me, and then it's never going to work. You know, if Christ is in the middle, and you both have to live for each other.
Well, and you know what, too? What you just shared, Jim, is that you said about dying to yourself and to really, you know, be living, you know, with the other and for the other. Here's the thing that's interesting. One of the things you said at the beginning of your comment is that you said, beginning of your story, is that you said about being right, and you have to, you know, really kind of, do you want to be a right fighter? Right fighting will never bring happiness. It's just going to make you feel right at that moment, and it's not going to achieve what we overall want to achieve in a marriage, and that is harmony, and that is holiness, and that is an ability to have that, safe place to learn and grow and grow in holiness. So, and you heard that sermon about, dying to yourself and really, rising up and being one with that other person. Well, that takes two of you in the marriage, and it takes Christ. And that's what we want to kind of emphasize, is this idea that there are two people coming together. And if both of you have that openness and that mindset, and you let Christ enter in, you have the perfect recipe. You really do. You have exactly what Ona Lee talked about. You have that perfect recipe. And the seeds will be planted in your home, and then all this wonderful fruit will be born. And I mean, my goodness, they have a priest who's a son who's a priest. And what's really interesting about that is that recipe works. The key is, when people are preparing for marriage and entering into marriage, those two parties need to really grasp that exact sermon that you heard, Jim. And so I ask you this, I'm going to put this back to you. How do we communicate that to our young people?
Question, honestly, I mean, well, in our parish, we were asked to do marriage prep and stuff, but my wife's not really, she doesn't like to get herself out there that way. She has strong faith, but for her it's just more of a personal thing. I do catechism. I teach catechism to 7th graders, and I'm also right now involved in the diaconate program. I'm aspiring to at this time, but and she's very supportive of that, which is which she has to be involved in the diaconate program. She has to go to all the classes with me and so on and so forth. So that was a strong leap for her. She doesn't like to be put out there, but she's strong. She's a good, strong Catholic woman, and she supports me in a lot of ways. So we do have a great marriage. I mean, we have 2 children, and I mean, we must have a pretty good marriage, because our kids both are looking forward to marriage, and they kind of get on us a little bit for not having more children. They want to have big families, so which is good to know that my at least my family is continuing, or hopefully continuing the faith and wants to spread it with a large family. So
well, and Jim, you're exactly what I was just talking about. I mean, look at your family. You are in formation for the diaconate. Your wife is supportive. She's going to go through that with you. Look at the blessings and the fruits that are coming out of that, just the formation of that. Your interest in that vocation. You are going forward with you and your wife together. I mean, that's you said it exactly. The fruits keep coming, and it's absolutely beautiful. And we're going to pray, Jim, we're going to surround you with prayers. You have a prayer team around you for your diaconate process, because that's beautiful that you shared that. Thank you for sharing that with us, and blessing our day, and giving us another perspective on how to really look at marriage and what it means to be in marriage, and how we serve one another, how we die to ourselves and really take up that cross with that other person, and we walk with them in union. So thank you, Jim. I really appreciate that call. Wow. And we're going to pray for your formation. Oh my goodness, I love our listeners. I don't know who I'm talking. I usually talk to Jerry when I say this, so I'm just going to talk to you, dear listeners. I love our listeners. We have like the best listeners in the world. Okay, so we have time for, I think, just really quickly, we're at less than 4.5 minutes, so we're going to run to Janet in Warren, Michigan, listening on Sirius XM 130. And Janet, please forgive me. The phone lines are completely full, but I'm going to take your call, and we only have a few minutes. Hi, Janet.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. What's up?
Well, I was listening to your story, hearing you were married for 20 years and how you had an annulment and, you're in your marriage and how blessed it is. And my heart just went, I have to get on. I also, my husband and my current husband and I were married 21 years. This is like 20 and 21 years, our magic number on the radio today. But we met at a beginning experience weekend. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's like a marriage encounter that was changed to be, adjusted to be for widowed and divorced persons by a sister who had a divorced friend. And it's a just beautiful program through the Catholic Church. And we met through there and learned healing and forgiveness, learned about each other, and we have the most wonderful marriage now. We both got annulments, and we have 6 children amongst us, and we've been trying to be that example like you talked about and like all these other people that have been on have talked about. We've taught youth group together, and in that youth group, the kids were like, well, why can't we live together? And, why can't we do this? And why can't we do that? So we've tried to be that beacon of light and to be able to practice that faith together, which I couldn't do in my first marriage because he just agreed to raise the kids, children Catholic, but he didn't support it. Mm-hmm. And like when you turn 16, you don't have to go to church anymore. It came from him. I was fighting for them to go. So now I don't have to fight for my faith. My husband and I are just growing and growing. We go to apologetics things and trying to learn more. We are very involved in the church. We were covenant couples, and it's, we talked also to the kids, about like my own children. We've experienced 5 in our family, 5 marriages since we've been married in our family, our children and us, with 1 divorce and 1 possible in the future. And I've been praying and praying for my daughter and her husband that they do not, and they go into the commitment. I had them go to a retrobite weekend. They're going to therapy now. They've been married 9 years, and we're trying to be that beacon of light, that example of a marriage that, unfortunately, both of them came from divorced families and didn't see that marriage commitment that is so important to our children to see. So I asked to pray for them and also for us in our commitment to what we're trying to do. But one of the things we talked about, in fact, I saw a neighbor outside, and even my own son, they bought a house together. Both of these people, my neighbor and my son, before they got married, and said, I was like talking to my son one day, and I said, what do you mean you're not sure? You bought a house together. What do you mean you're not sure yet if you're going to get married? They hadn't set a date or anything. And he says, well, I says, you've already made the commitment. Do you understand? Commitment is the commitment to each other. It's like today's children don't understand what commitment is.
Right.
They buy homes, they live together, and they're like, well, we're going to get married in a couple of years. I mean, it's like, why? And one of the kid next door yesterday said to me, well, we just, we want to make sure. I'm like, oh, goodness.
Yeah.
And I said to him, you can only be an example. You've already bought a house together. You're already committed. What are you waiting so long for?
Right. And to inspire our youth. And forgive me, Janet. I only got 45 seconds before, but you were the perfect close to the show. I want to thank you so much for your call. But Janet, you are so right. We must be lights and beacons of light to our youth, and you're doing that so beautifully. The two of you came together, you and your husband. You were open and you became one, and through God's grace, your sacrament is showing. God bless you. That is awesome. Every call today. And Donna and Eric, I wish we could have gotten to you. Please keep the conversation going on take2show.com or Facebook. You can like us there and keep the conversation going. Please forgive us. We're going to continue this conversation on social media, but until tomorrow, I want to wish you a beautiful and blessed day. See you tomorrow.